Hey everyone, God bless you all.
So today's topic is going to be do not fear, God is here.
A lesson on peace.
Let's talk about it.
So today, I actually wanted to read into Exodus because we were thinking about peace and what it means. So before we go into Exodus, what is peace for you?
For peace, for me, the first thing I think about, just sitting here thinking about it spontaneously, when I'm thinking in the context of God, is problems or being in the midst of problems but not being fazed. So what I mean by that is that whenever we have peace, or godly peace, or God is providing us a sense of peace, it's always during a situation or a problem or some type of thing that's happening. He doesn't, most of the time, doesn't get rid of the problem, but gives you a relief during that problem. So some of us might think that peace is I will have no problem at all, and it's the opposite. The first thing I think about when I think about peace is I have the problem, I'm okay while I have that problem. And that's what first thing I think about when I think of peace.
That's true, and it kind of goes back to our first video about faith. When I think about peace, because for me, peace and faith obviously go together when you're talking about holy peace or God's peace. But yeah, when you think of peace, you think of what you're going through. You need peace, or to think peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more. It's like a mentality.
Yeah, it's all up here.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, peace is
definitely a state of mind.
Yes.
Almost like an emotion, but it's the way you react to your situation. It's not an actual action.
Yeah.
It's not an action like fearing or believing, which takes an action, but having peace is more of a reaction. It's not an action. It's you're dealing with a particular action in a certain way. So you can be scared, but you can be at peace. Or you can be happy and be at peace. Or you can be worried and be at peace. I mean, you guys pick the verb you want to pick. But you can be anything, preoccupied, anxious, busy. I mean, keep going down the line. You could be driving, anything. But peace comes with any situation you might have.
Yeah, and we really, especially during this time, we need to have peace, and we need to know that God is in control, and that we really rely on Him, and have peace in knowing that. Mm-hmm. So I would like to go to Exodus chapter 16, 14 to 20. And Exodus chapter 16, verse 14 through 20 says, "And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, 'What is it?' For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, 'This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, 1 omer for each person, according to the number of persons. Let every man take it for those who are in his tent.'" So in this point of Exodus, the Israelites were taken out of Egypt, and they're with Moses and Aaron, and they're in the desert of Sin, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they need to collect bread or manna, so that way they can eat.
I like to think of it as frosted flakes, because it's literally thin sheets with sugar on it. Frosted flakes.
So when I read this, I really like this story of when the Israelites were taken out of Egypt, just because I'm curious as to how they reacted. And I actually feel like they didn't really have much peace, even though they knew that God was in control and God constantly showed them like his glory and his power to them. But they were very like whiny. At least when I read it, that's how I interpret it. Like they were really whiny. And I mean, I can't say how I would react because I can only imagine how I would react. But those people, like, you know, when they were going through all of that, even though they saw everything that God has done for them, like they were still, like it was still not enough, and they were still, even in one point of the Bible, in Exodus, they were saying, if we were back in Egypt, you know, the food, we would be surrounded by all this food, and now we have to eat this bread. And the thing is, in this part, particularly of Exodus, they had to collect the manna so that way, only a certain amount. I think it was like 3 pounds that they're supposed to collect, and it was for them to eat, and then they had to go and collect it again the next morning, and it was just like, it was only a certain amount, because if they kept the manna, it would actually have maggots the next day. And it's crazy because when you think about peace, you don't really think about this like story, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, wow, they really had to have peace and having confidence, knowing that God is going to provide them the food that they need. They needed the peace and like the faith in God. Yeah. So that way they're like, oh, you know, the next morning is when I get my, you know, when I'm gonna get this bread, when I'm gonna get this manna. And it's like, you really have to have peace in knowing that, and God is like constantly reminding them, like, I am the provider, I am the one. You need to remember that I have the power to give you this.
I think it's important to know this is a perfect example of like a group of people who, in the midst of their situation of problems, whatever they were going through, they happen to not have that confidence in God. Like, this is a perfect example of wanting to have that confidence or needing to have that confidence, and they didn't, because we know none of them entered into the promised land. None of them did. They all died, and their ancestors entered, because God ended up stretching that time for them to get in there and got rid of all of them, because they didn't have, like when you said they wish they would be back in Egypt, is like, after seeing the Red Sea part, after seeing them being provided manna, after seeing them being provided shade during the sun and fire at night, because it was cold in the desert at night, you know.
Even seeing, like, even for me, like, just seeing that cloud, that whenever, like, they saw the cloud, they knew that God's presence was there, and Moses would have to talk to God. Like, for me, it's like, I mean, that's God. Like,
so seeing all that, and then wishing to go back, knowing that they very much likely, when they were back in Egypt, were probably eating bread and water anyways. Like, you know, like they did not have that confidence that you're talking about, and that peace during that time. That's a perfect example of how God is like, just trust in me. I'm providing you in the desert where there's nothing grown. I'm providing you food, heat. I mean, they had holy air conditioning and holy heaters. That's amazing. You know how much I gotta pay electricity bill? They gotta pay nothing. You know?
I think it's awesome, like, this story also, because like it keeps us aware, like just peace in general, like God is keeping us aware of our dependence on Him. Like we fully have to rely on God in everything that we do, and everything that we do, like, we already have to dedicate it to God, because He's the one that gave it to us in the first place. So having that peace, knowing that God is in control, like God is in control of our lives, like He's helping us, He's guiding us, and we just need to put Him first. We have that peace, like even in like simple things in our daily lives, just knowing that, you know, I can trust in God. Like, I have peace in God, because He's gonna help me get home safely from from a church service or from work.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna help me, in even like being able to pay the bills, help me with my job. I have peace in knowing that, I'm secure in those things because of God. And even if I don't have those things, I still know that God is in control of my life and He's still going to help me and provide for me.
Mm-hmm. And you still worry about those things.
Yeah.
Because you're not being negligent. But at the end of the day, those worries are not taking over your mental state or your ability to keep on moving and going and doing things and getting stuff done, which is the difference between having the peace that we think is godly and the one that's not.
Yeah.
Like the one that truly is, where we think that having peace means everything goes away when it actually they were still in the desert. And for them to have peace in the midst of their problem of not having the greatest food ever and not having to be indoors and this, that, the other, and having to walk far and far and long and long, having peace in the midst of that means that's still going to happen, but you're going to believe in God and know that everything's going to be okay at the end. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately it didn't, which is kind of sad, but good to understand because a lot of times we learn from people's mistakes.
Now that you say that, I think it kind of goes with just being grateful too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like having peace in like knowing that God is there for you and God provides for you is like also being grateful for everything that He has already given for us. And I know it's like it's different, but like it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to read Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 and 7. Which in Jesus' name says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." And I believe we actually read this verse in one of our past videos, but it's a great verse. Like it really says exactly. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So we have to know that if for anything, if we're worried about anything, we pray to God. God is aware of our situation. He's not He's not just like, oh, here, you do your own thing, call me when you need me. It's not 100% like that. Like God knows what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
He wants us to call on Him to request Him, so that way we have that dependence on Him. Right? He wants us to constantly go to Him and obviously have that relationship with Him.
I would focus on the being anxious for nothing. I think that's going to be super important to understand something in this verse is that the Bible says not to be anxious, but we can still worry about things. So if we know we can worry about things and not be negligent and want to look towards doing something or getting something done, but not being anxious, which means it's a possibility to still worry, but not be anxious, not be crazy, because sometimes we think it's if we can't be anxious then we can't worry either. Mm-hmm. No, I mean you can do your due diligence, right? But you don't have to go crazy, right? And throughout the whole process, like you said, in Thanksgiving, make your requests known to God, right? And then after that, it doesn't say and God will do everything you want Him to do, right? It doesn't say that. It says, with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, make your prayer known to God. And the God who surpasses all understanding.
And the peace of God.
Yeah, and the peace of God who surpasses all understanding. So He doesn't say, oh, okay, so you have a problem, we'll just cover it with fixing it. No, He says, you have a problem, I'm going to give you peace in the midst of your problem.
Yeah, I mean, even I know there's people who don't have.
Wait. So if you want that Xbox and you don't think you're gonna get it, God will give you peace, but you still ain't getting that. But
I was gonna say that.
I know there's one youth out there who's just that means I could just ask for that Xbox and God's gonna give it. Nah, homie.
Or that car.
You ain't getting nothing, bro, homie. Nope. And I'm talking to you. Yes, I can feel it. Not just playing, but
But I was gonna say that, like, even like people who don't like have jobs and they're like, oh, I need to pay for this, you know, or rent. I need to pay my bills. You know, even if you don't have a job, you're still doing your part in trying to pay your bills, or, you know, God is gonna provide for you one way or another, and He's gonna help you in the situation that you're in if you fully rely on Him. And He's gonna give you that peace knowing that, like, okay, you're gonna feel like anxious, you're gonna feel like that, like pain in your chest. You're gonna be like, oh, like I don't have a job and I need to pay my bills, or I don't have a job and I want this brand new shirt and it looks so cute and everything's on sale right now. Like, but like you have to realize that God is just gonna help you with peace, giving you peace, and knowing that, you know, okay, you might not be able to pay your bill right now, but like you don't know what comes in the future. You know, you don't know what God has in store for you, but have peace even though you don't know what God has planned for you.
Yeah, and I think that again goes hand in hand. It's important to understand it doesn't go, this whole peace and hope and trust in God goes hand in hand with hustle, like working, getting it done, like
doing your part.
Yeah, like if you got no money to pay that bill, you better be out there finding a way to get that money. You anything you can do, any applications you submit, anything you gotta clean this, do that, run here, run there. God will give you peace, but you gotta do your part.
Yeah, because you're not gonna go, oh, okay, channel, click, and then be like, yeah, God's got this under control. You know what? I'm just gonna keep watching TV, keep watching Netflix. You know, I keep want to watch, you know, all these new channels, all these new shows on Netflix. Like, no, you have to do your part. Like, get a job, or, you know, do your part in taking action towards what you need, and God will, you know, help you with the rest.
So I think what goes hand in hand with talking about God's peace is, most people think it's like, okay, God can give me peace in the midst of my problems, but exactly, like, how can He understand what I'm going through right now? Like, I know He's all-knowing, almighty, He's God, right? But God doesn't go hungry, God doesn't suffer, right? What someone might think, God doesn't feel, God doesn't have to worry, He's on His throne up there doing something, right? So if you guys can go to Hebrews chapter 4, we're going to go ahead and read verse 13 to 16. And it says, in the name of Jesus, neither is any creature that is not manifested in His sight, God's sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of Him with whom we have to do. And quick pause. So we know there that God, all of us, are naked in front of God. God knows us inside and out. So that's the first thing we gotta know, is that He knows our problem, He knows our situation, so He has that knowledge. Nothing's hidden from Him at all. Right? Verse 14 says, seeing then that we have a great high priest that passed into the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of infirmities, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So the cool thing is that God doesn't mistake when He does things. Like, He has an awesome plan. So someone might say, oh, God doesn't know what He's talking about because He's up there. He's never been broken poor. He's never been whooped or chained. He's never had to go through a struggle. But that's the thing. God knows everything. And He says, you know something? For those that are going to say that, for those who need help understanding, I'm going to make myself into a man named Jesus. I'm going to come to this earth to be a perfect sacrifice. And I'm going to go through every struggle I can ever go with, right? We know, He says that He does not have, that He has gone through and be tempted by everything, yet He didn't sin. right? And there's no way that he does not feel our insecurities, our infirmities, the problems we might get. He understands them because he lived through them as a human being, and he stripped himself of his glory, still being God, right? So the perfect example, the one who knows what's going on, is God, right? So if we trust in him and believe in him, he'll help us and he'll give us that peace. So that way, whenever we are going through a problem, we're good. Like, we can be feeling struggle, but in the midst of feeling that way, God knows, I know how that feels like. I got you. I'm going to make you feel the same way I feel. And I think that's important to know also, that you might think he doesn't know how it feels like to be going through a problem, but he does. And he might have not gone through the same thing. You know, your iPhone breaks and you think it's the end of the world, right? And he never had an iPhone. That's not what that means. What it means is he's gone through our basic insecurities, our basic situations, and in those, he understands so much.
I feel like we don't realize how much of an actual father our God is. Because if we think about it, you know, our parents are, most of our parents, not everybody's parents, but most of our parents are like that, where, you know, if your mom sees that, you know, that you're hurt and you're going through a certain situation, she'll be like, oh, you know, it's okay, you know, don't worry, everything's gonna get better. And like, she makes you feel better, even though you're still going through it. She's not taking it away.
Yeah.
You're still going through the situation. I feel like God does that for us. He's like, it's okay, like, don't worry, like, I'm here for you, you know, I love you, I care about you, we're gonna get through this. And he helps us through it. He's our dad, like, he's our father, and he's actually, like, gonna help us through it. And that he gives us that peace, you know, he actually, like I feel like it's like kind of like babying us, like he babies us, and he's like, you're my child, like, I love you, and I want you to have peace in knowing that we're gonna get through this together. And I think that's amazing. That's beautiful. You know, like, God loves us so much that he cares for us to give us that peace.
So again, to, I guess, kind of conclude, is that first, peace is not something that you just fixes an issue or fixes a problem. It's something that adds on to your problem and makes it better in a perspective, right? So it's not a verb, it's an adjective or an adverb. Sorry, you know, it adds on to your verb, that you're worrying but you're at peace. And then how to obtain it? Simply ask him. Don't be anxious in anything, but ask him in every supplication, right? And prayer.
Yeah.
And he'll give you peace. He won't solve your problem. He might solve your problem if that's what he merits, right?
Yeah, it's according to his will.
And to know he understands. He understands what you're going through, and he knows everything. But at the same time, he knows that you need to go through this to come out better at the end, right?
Exactly. So thank you guys for listening to our video this time. We just wanted to say that we miss you all.
Miss you guys a lot.
Yeah, I know.
And again, guys, if you have any comments, any suggestions for another topic, please let us know. Again, at our email. It's going to be linked below. It's going to be on the screen now. Or through any video that we might be posting on our YouTube or our Facebook or anything like that. Or if you want to be with us or add or comment on our Instagram or our Snapchat or something like that, everything's going to be on the link below and also right on the screen. So don't be shy. Let us know what you guys want to talk about.
Share us your testimonies if you have any. Like, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and we also would be able to talk about things that you guys want to talk about, in the sense of if something happened to you and you want to talk about it, let us know and we'll mention it. We'll tell you guys instead of testimony.
Yeah.
So anyways, guys, God bless you. Goodbye.